I want to talk about paying for Star Trek. For me, I've always paid for Star Trek. I paid for Star Trek, well, my family paid for Star Trek in the 1980s when it was on the BBC, because the BBC is funded by a television licence and is therefore not free. During the 90s and noughties, when it was on Sky, TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, all having their first runs on Sky. That was a pay TV platform, is a pay TV platform. You have to pay for those channels, you have to pay to watch that show. As a student in the 90s, didn't have Sky, and I had to buy the VHSs. I would often go to relatively great lengths to get those VHSs because we really were quite skinned. I just didn't have hardly any disposable income at all. We had enough, but not a lot. So for me, the idea of the new TV show coming out and being something that you pay for is completely natural. It is just something that you do. You buy tickets for the theatre to go and watch the movies. You buy the VHSs, you buy the DVDs, the Blu-rays, the downloads. You just pay for Star Trek. Because that's what it is. Now, I've noticed with some surprise that a lot of fans, I would assume from the US, are very, very upset that Star Trek is going to have to be chargeable. You have to pay for it on CBS All Access over there, Netflix here in the UK, and that Star Trek should be free. And this is completely alien to my understanding. And some commenters have even insisted that Roddenberry would be furious and wouldn't want Star Trek to be paid for. I'm not certain that that's what Gene Roddenberry would argue, but I don't know and didn't know the guy, so it just strikes me as being an odd attitude to have. I can certainly understand if you're used to it being on network television in the States and never ever having had to pay for it, then it might come as something of a shock. And I can understand how people would feel that there's a principle involved, but my own experience, unfortunately, doesn't allow me to see that. I genuinely don't understand that. I'd be interested to see what anybody else thinks. Why those who object to the fact that you have to pay for Star Trek, why they object. What are the principles involved? Is it setting a precedent? Is it the thin end of the wedge? Does it mean that you're worried that there's an end to all free television? All I would argue in favour of payable TV is that, in principle, the customer, the viewer, the fan is actually exercising a little bit more control over the franchise because they are directly paying for it. Whereas in the past it has been paid for by a number of factors, but primarily advertising revenue. Star Trek is not free, somebody pays for it, and historically it's been advertisers, and now it's the viewers. I would say that that's a good thing, although I would be very interested in hearing contrary views.